Welcome to this episode of Eye of the Swarm, your deep dive into anything and everything related to Yellowjacket athletics. He's the big sound Matt Johnson. I am John Garver, season 6, episode number 5, and probably not a place you want to be tuning into if you want post-election coverage. We're not going to talk about any of that. We're strictly going to stick to the sports world here.
Because there's plenty there.
There's plenty of that going on, that is for sure, as we have hit the heat of crossover season.
Yes, we have.
This is about as busy as it gets.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I think this is probably the most busy crossover we've had. Usually, when we get into the postseason, especially for the soccer teams and volleyball, they're about a week ahead, of the big start of the winter campaign. This year, they overlapped completely.
Yes.
Just because of that's the way the calendar fell. Yeah. So this year, we've got more going on than we've ever had before all at once. I personally have 7 games to broadcast this week. You have, 4?
I will have 5.
Yeah. We have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, it's a 13 game week for us.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot happening right now. We're about a third of the way through for the week. We've got a bunch of things happening.
It all seems to hit on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Friday and Saturday are going to be very, very busy.
Yeah.
Because we've got 10 games over those 2 days. So that's going to be really where we get tested. Because we've done 3 so far. We've got 10 more to go.
Yeah.
So it's
you're excited about it, but you're not.
Yeah. I always look forward.
The games are always fun.
Yeah. I look forward to the start of the winter season. I know you do too.
Yep.
But the nice thing about the winter season, it's a little more stable in terms of scheduling. Everybody knows exactly when they're going to play and where and when.
Right.
Not to say that you don't in the fall, but there's so many different moving parts in the fall. It's the most challenging for us logistically season, and it's the first season of the year for us every year. So we kind of get thrown.
Well, you're still getting all the bugs out and everything at that point, and
Yeah.
But it's a season that goes so quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
the
there's
next
so much
thing
happening.
you know, it's October 1st, and you're like, okay,
Right.
we're halfway through these seasons already.
Yeah, and then you throw in tennis and golf and
Right.
All the rest of it too, cross country. You've got a lot of moving parts here, and all of our teams are highly successful or highly competitive. So there's a lot happening all the time.
There's a lot that's happening.
So that that makes things a little bit more difficult, but it's a fun time too because you get a chance to kind of get a sneak peek into what's going to happen in the winter, or at least something of a preview, and then the fall teams are at full bore now because they're getting into their postseason. So. And a lot has happened even since our last podcast. Can't go through all of it. It would take the entire show. But we've got, there's been a lot happening. There's been 4 conference titles won by teams, both cross-country teams, repeated as UMAC champions. They were expected to, but they did.
Yep.
Same thing with men's and women's soccer. They were expected to win again. They did. And now men's and women's soccer playing for berths in the NCAA tournament on Saturday. That's 2 of the 6 games on that day. But I kind of want to, we'll talk more about, of course, men's soccer in the next segment, but women's soccer, nice to see Neve Larson, who I know you took a lap with just recently.
For the record, so athletes out there, when you get asked to do a lap, do it, because Neve Larson does a lap and scores her first collegiate goal. Yeah. Last week, Aiden Doherty does a lap, wins a conference championship in men's cross country.
Right, yeah.
What more do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I used to tell some of the hockey guys, the power of the pregame interview. I had a stretch one year where 8 straight games, whoever did the pregame interview scored.
Yeah,
then suddenly they're just like, "Hey, what? Can I be on this game?"
Serendipity.
Yes.
That's
dumb luck, but
dumb luck and serendipity.
Still.
We'll take it either way. However you want to describe it. But Neve Larson gets the game winner. Women win 4-1 yesterday in a game that I did on the radio and on Yellowjacket TV to move on to their 5th straight UMAC conference tournament title game, taking on Bethany Lutheran. First time the Vikings have ever made the conference tournament title game, so that'll be interesting for them.
Yeah.
And then, as it happens every year, the men playing Bethany Lutheran again, too. That's, 3 or 4 years in a row now?
Boy, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it might even be more than that.
Yeah, it's been a long stretch of
I think basically since St. Scholastica departed the conference.
Yeah,
because for those few years it was us and CSS.
Yep.
And then Bethany just kind of stepped
in
for
that
CSS.
Spot. Yeah, exactly. And they had to go to shootout yesterday against Crown, though.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that because when you had said on the air last night that the women's game was still in the first half. I'm like, well, that can't be right.
Yeah, they had to go.
So I went and looked, and then I saw that went to a shootout, and then, Bethany tied that with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, Crown was right there, and it's exciting game. The Yellowjacket men didn't really have any problems with Northwestern. Scored 4 times in the first half. The last 2 times they played Northwestern, they scored 9 goals in the first half against the Eagles.
Wow.
And Northwestern, I thought, played a better game than they did the last time they were here, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the kind of groove that the men's soccer team is in right now.
Yep.
And some of their numbers are crazy. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
off the
some of the
charts.
stuff it goes against every conventional wisdom of what you think of a soccer being with what they're doing offensively this year. I've never seen anything like it. And Jake Kidd, 22 goals and counting for him.
Yeah,
so,
all he does is score.
Yeah, exactly.
All he does is score.
Well, he does is score goals. So that, and then volleyball right now in line to get the number 2 seed, which would give them a home playoff game, probably against Morris.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Morris.
Yeah, exactly. So they're in line to get the number 2 seed, and they're on the road taking on Bethany Lutheran, and not in that order, in Martin Luther.
Yep.
It'll be Martin Luther actually first this time, but
Yep.
They're playing this weekend. But the big news also, men's hockey starting out this weekend. Women's hockey's already played 3 games.
Yep. They'll have 4 in before the men play their first.
Women's basketball on the road as well this weekend, playing their first game, and men's basketball hosting the Merrill Thompson Classic. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yes.
That's the reason for all of this talk about.
Yeah, you get to Saturday and it's noon, 2:30,
then
3.
for the women's hockey, and then it's
No, women's hockey's at 2.
okay.
Men's soccer at noon. The
2:30.
first basketball game at 1.
Okay. Second
Women's
game at
hockey at 2.
3:30.
Women's soccer at 2:30. The second men's basketball game at 3, and then men's hockey at 7. That's what it is.
So yeah, 6 games that day.
So
there's
3
gonna be-
venues going at the exact same time.
there's gonna be a lot of
It's
running
a
around.
testament to our student staff and the people that a lot of times are behind the scenes because
Yeah, 'cause
this
it's gonna-
stuff doesn't happen without all those people.
No, absolutely not. And me and John will be heavily involved all day on that day, as you might expect.
Yes.
So we're both going to be
We'll
running
sleep
around
well on
and-
Saturday
Yes,
evening.
exactly. We're going to be tired by the time that's all over. But I wanted to get your feelings because you've already done a hockey game. You did the women's hockey game against St. Ben's. Nice win
It was.
for the ladies.
It
And
was. It was a very enjoyable game.
They're scoring goals.
They are, and
a lot of them.
You know, and I laughed at, and I looked at Bree Simon, and I'm like, on the offense, now you just got to find some defense. She goes, yeah, we're giving up a lot of goals too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they're scoring a lot of goals, giving
know.
up some goals, but 2-1 on the year. And
Yeah,
I actually thought they played really well that night.
they did.
Yeah,
They did.
You know, and that third period was very impressive. I thought they
clamped down.
Yeah.
And I mean,
They really held the puck in
they
the zone
outshot
a
them
lot.
10-3.
Yep.
They kept it was, perfect defense and how you want to kind of run out the clock a little bit. And
Exactly.
you could see St. Ben's wanted to get their goalie out and get that extra attacker
But they just
on,
hemmed him in.
and they just
Yeah.
stood him up the red line, sent it right back in, and didn't allow them to get that goalie out. So it was really impressive how they played the third period.
Yeah, and they look quicker. They look a little more offensive minded this year.
They are. They attack more, which I love to see, and they are just getting in on pucks a little heavier in the offensive zone. They're getting more pucks to the net.
Yep.
So it's first 3 games. It's been fun to watch them attack a little bit.
Yeah, they've scored 14 goals, by the way, in their first 3 games. So if they continue on that production, they'll be pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to be just fine if they can keep producing like that. But they have to limit what they're giving the other team
Yeah,
too. I
exactly.
mean, you've also given up 12. So
Yeah, exactly.
you've-
So
you've-
there've been some, but it's been entertaining, and I thought they played well against St.
They
Ben's.
did. They did. And they got a pretty good test coming Friday because they play Hamlin on Friday.
Yep.
Bree Simon's alma mater.
Yep.
So I'm sure there'll be some emotion there for her, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle that because Hamlin's 2-0. They're a good team there too.
Yeah.
So
And they're always tough.
Yeah.
Hamlin's always good. So
Yeah.
that coming up, men's hockey plays Gustavus, I think.
yeah, they got Gustavus on Friday, St. Olaf on Saturday. Gustavus hasn't played yet.
Okay.
Looked at their roster a little bit yesterday. They're huge.
Big.
They're huge.
They're big and physical?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even know if they're physical because I
They're
haven't
just
seen them
big.
play.
Okay.
But they have a lot of guys who are 6'2" and bigger.
Okay.
So they're a big team. Been a while since we've seen one
That big.
with that much size.
Okay.
So curious to see what we'll see out of that.
Okay.
And
We got some
honestly,
big boys too, but
We have some size, but not quite like this group.
okay,
does.
this group is
Yeah.
across the board. They're
Yeah,
big.
They're
okay.
they're big.
Okay.
And curious to see what Rich McKenna's team's going to do.
Yeah.
I'll eat crow if I need to, but there's no way that there can be a repeat of the misfortune that happened to that team last year offensively.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times. 27 game schedule, 14 times scoring 1 goal or less.
Yeah.
And guys who you figure are going to be good for 10 are giving you 3.
Yeah. You got to find
you
more.
look at the
Got to find some offense.
You
somewhere.
look at the analytics and the metrics and everything, and they dominated games in those ways and had possession time, offensive zone times, shots on goal,
Right,
high
yeah.
danger chances. They're beating teams that way throughout the year,
Right, yeah,
and
yeah.
then our teams just come down 1-shot score.
Yeah.
And it was like that all year long.
Got to find a way to score.
I
some
just,
more
I
goals.
just don't feel like there's any way that there can be a repeat of that because it was kind of like a perfect storm. So, but he's got a lot of new blood there too. So who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of new guys coming in. I know
he's
he's
got
excited
10.
about some
He's
of
got 10 freshmen on that roster. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what he's got there too.
Yeah, not a new guys, and of course, women's basketball. Women's basketball starts out the season at Marion on Friday.
Yep.
And then they take a few days off before they play Carleton.
Yep.
And that'll be interesting because Carleton actually suspended their program last year because of lack of bodies.
Right.
So
good to see them back.
Yeah, good to see them back. It'll be interesting to see what they look like.
Right.
After taking a full year literally off.
Plenty of time to recruit then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be interesting. The women picked to win the UMAC again for the second straight year. Makes sense because they only lost one starter.
Yep.
So, and they brought back the player of the year from last year, and Elise Bessenden, who, one of the best guards, I think, in UWS history. So, she's there. And then the men, preseason number 2, they also lost one starter only. Yep. So a lot of returners. I figure the men are going to probably be a little bit more guard-oriented than they have been, just simply because Joseph Fahrenholtz is not there anymore.
Right.
Now that he's playing professionally over in, I think, Europe somewhere, right?
He's Norway?
Is it Norway?
I think it's Norway.
Okay. But he's playing professionally over in Europe, and bring back 4 of their 5 starters, and they're going to be a little smaller, I think. Not to say there aren't big guys on the roster. There are a few guys that are 6'8", but they're going to be a team that's going to rely, I think, on defense pressure and shooting the ball. Going to have to rebound well, but yeah, high expectations for both teams. They're expected to both be in the hunt.
Yep.
And they host the Merrill Thompson this weekend. They'll be taking on Marion as well at home at the Mertz. I'll be on Yellowjacket TV for that one. And you'll have men's hockey on Yellowjacket TV and the radio that night. And then they'll be taking on St. Olaf on Saturday. I'm kind of bummed I won't be able to get a chance to see that game.
Sorry, boss.
Yeah, my 2 alma maters colliding there. But it'll be fun. The other teams, St. Olaf and UW Stout. And I will have the Olies playing the Blue Devils in the first game of the tournament at 5:30 on tomorrow night, I guess, as it turns out.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's kind of an overlay of what's going on right now, and there's a lot happening.
There's a lot happening. I'm going through my head right now going, do we miss anything?
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Who do the women's hockey play on Saturday?
They have Augsburg.
Is it Augsburg? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, everybody is in full swing.
And that one will be on TV because the soccer matches will be on radio.
TV. Yeah.
And KUWS.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So, yeah, there's a lot happening. If you want to get a full schedule of all of that, you can go to uwsyellowjackets.com and look. But, it's going to be a lot.
It's going to be a lot. So, or come to campus.
Yeah, come on up.
And just go facility to facility on Saturday.
There's going to be plenty going on, starting bright and early.
Yep.
I have the first game at noon for men's and women's soccer over at SCCU. And then Mertz follows right up about an hour later. And
Westman's an hour after that.
Westman's an hour after that. So, it just is kind of a rolling schedule.
It's going to be a busy one.
That's the thing, though, that's nice that they're not completely piled up in a way that.
What do you mean they're not completely piled up? You have 3 venues going at the exact same time.
That's true, but there's enough.
Can't get any more piled up than that.
But thankfully, there's enough staff to be able to navigate.
There really isn't.
We like to think there is.
If we want to do this all the right way, there is not enough staff.
Right, yeah. That's what I was wondering how you were going to handle it.
Well, we figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
We started talking about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And telling people this is where you're going to be. These are the games you're going to have to work. So.
Yeah, exactly. So at least you planned ahead, though.
We tried to plan ahead, yeah.
Yeah, as much as you can.
Yep.
So anyway, it's a crazy busy time. And one of those teams is going to be with us for the next segment. John?
Yeah. We'll take a time out here, and when we come back, we'll be talking men's soccer as they get ready to embark on.
I'm trying to how many times in a row?
Is this their 8th?
8th straight?
They've won 8?
Okay, so they're looking for their 7th straight NCAA tournament bid, so this would be their 8th straight.
This is their 8th straight.
Yeah.
This
9th straight
their 8th
appearance.
straight win, but 9th straight appearance. That's what I was trying to figure out in my mind. So anyways, math is hard sometimes. So anyway, we're going to take a quick time out. We'll come back, and we'll talk a little bit Yellowjacket soccer right after this. You are watching Eye of the Swarm.
Find your passion. Find your people. Find your purpose. Find your superior.
We're back on the roundtable segment of this week's Eye of the Swarm, and it is time for us to jump into the late stages of soccer seasons. We're joined by head coach Joe Mooney and William Maanstroem from the Yellowjacket men's soccer program. And it's funny, when I was having a conversation with Coach about locking this one in, he said, just know if things don't go well on Wednesday, we might have to have the cough button ready.
Yeah, well, he dropped that line to me for the pregame interview beforehand, because he's like, I didn't even know who we had this week. And then I walk in and I'm like, you got time for an interview? Sure.
Yeah.
And then we do the interview, and he's like, see you tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? What's going on tomorrow? Podcast. Oh, yeah, okay. Although he said, if it doesn't go well tonight, all bets are off for tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay.
That would just be the absolute worst,
Yeah.
if things don't go well and all of a sudden. It's bad enough in a regular season when you catch a coach after a tough
loss.
one.
Yeah.
But when you're talking postseason stuff and then your season comes to a screeching halt and then you have to sit in and talk to these two bozos, it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Two of us up here just railing away.
God.
You know what, though? Thankfully, I think we haven't really had much of that over the years.
No, it hasn't been too
No,
many.
it hasn't been too bad. I mean, we might have had one or two here along the way.
I think I caught McKenna on one.
Okay.
How was that cough button?
Well, I mean, the thing is with
He didn't let his New York show that much that day.
Okay.
well, the thing is also with that is that you look at it from like an overall perspective though of how things overall are going. I mean, just because you lose a game doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, now I can't talk to anybody for a week.
Yeah.
Some coaches are like that way, but
Well, I think we're all like that in playoffs, though. I mean,
Well-
if it's regular season, you take your lumps here, there, and we all wear it a little bit, but obviously postseason, that's a different story. There's a definite kind of grieving process that goes into that.
oh yeah,
So
absolutely. And we haven't had McKenna, I don't think, during the playoffs. We've always had him usually like right after the first of the year. I think pretty close.
Yeah, the only time it was even close to that was after they won the conference.
Yeah.
We grabbed him after that, and obviously that was more of a jubilant conversation as opposed
That's
to...
kind of a party. That was like the party
it was
podcast.
as opposed to the funeral podcast.
Yeah, it's because of the funeral podcast, which...
for different reasons, you don't want to do that one early in the morning the next day, right?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to do that one too quick. So
No cough button needed, but maybe a pair of sunglasses. That's
right, yeah.
That was only on radio back then, so it didn't matter.
All good.
It didn't matter.
Yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
visual then.
Yeah, it wasn't visual
Yeah.
back then. That was when we were still stuck
was
in
a
the
come as
studio.
you are.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a come as you are kind of thing where you didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's been, and I alluded to it in the first segment, that it's been, this team has kind of defied logic in a lot of way when it comes to the sport of soccer, simply because of the amount of shots, goals, and all the categories you guys are leading the nation in right now offensively, which is just about all of them. But I mean, 107 goals on the season. I mean, I don't know what the school record is for goals as a team in a season, but it's got to be pretty close to where we are right now.
School record was 103.
Oh, okay. So we have
beat that last
So you
night.
took care of that yesterday.
We did, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So 107 goals for and 12 against. I mean, that defies soccer logic. Like, that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to be plus 95.
Tremendous. It's a tremendous goal differential.
You're not supposed to be plus 95 in soccer. I mean,
Safe to say, going into the
Yeah.
NCAA tournament, we're a tiebreaker system. You've got the goal differential.
yeah, exactly. Got goal differential
Yeah.
thing down. And
Well, what I'll say about that, though, too, is, you look at the first couple games. We talked about this in the pregame
Yeah.
or the mid-game yesterday, Matt. But, I mean, our first few games, we didn't score.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
What's wrong with this team?
that was our thought process coming out of the Platteville game.
We
Like,
felt
yeah.
it a bit, right? Like we were, the first three games we had scored one goal. And again, good teams that were I mean, Augsburg, Carleton, Platteville,
those are
are
good
all
teams.
perennial.
Yeah.
Two of those teams were in the NCAA tournament last year. And, Augsburg, I think, is a perennial contender for the NCAA tournament, right? So, like, you're going against, a quality level there. I do think what we showed in those first few games, though, was that we weren't going to concede a lot of goals this year. And, it's one of those things where, I mean, this is not to take away from any of our goal scorers and what we can do up top. I mean, there's certainly a prolific element to our game. But I do think that one of the things that gives them the ability to go on and score and keep numbers forward and commit numbers forward at times and be a little bit more dynamic is the fact that we have so much confidence in our midfield and really in our back line. Starting with our goalkeeper, obviously, Alex has had another terrific season, and then Will and the crew in the back line. If we're not conceding a lot of goals, we know, we've got some faith in the guys behind us. It's that much easier to spring out. And I'm sure that's similar to hockey and other, sports of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because you guys have also changed your formation a bit this year at times, and so that's been, and I talked about that a little bit during the broadcast last night, that the formation changes, and you and I talked about it at halftime yesterday during the men's game, is that, it's a different looking formation this year, but the guys have really taken to it, and it really did unlock things. And sort of, I look at Jay Kidd in the numbers that he's put up, he sort of was a reflection of how your season has gone, because at the beginning of the year, I felt like he was snake bit. I was like, when's he going to start scoring goals? Because he kept hitting the post. He hit the post 5 times in the first 4 games, and then he had one, like you say, clear off the line against Carleton, which I thought was going in for sure. and it just was like, so then he started scoring, and then it just didn't stop. I mean, you guys, I was looking at the numbers today, 27 different goal scorers, and about 20 of them have multiple goals this year. I mean, that defies logic. That's not supposed to happen in soccer. Usually in soccer, you have one, maybe two, maybe even three guys that are scoring goals for you. But this whole team does nothing but score goals.
That's a great hockey season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, when you got that many guys scoring goals, and you guys are averaging almost 27 shots per game, which is also a super high number. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, this team kind of defies the conventional logic of soccer, because most teams are, if they're having a good year, they're in maybe scoring 40 or 50 goals a year. And you guys have doubled that to this point. I mean, it's been kind of crazy. And I think you and I, John, have kind of talked about it a little bit. It just kind of how the season has unfolded, considering where it started to where we are now. I mean, you guys are scoring goals. I thought Northwestern actually played a pretty decent game yesterday. But it didn't matter because you guys still scored 4 goals in the first half. I mean, because you guys have been very clinical.
Yeah.
And that's, I think out of your first 5 shots on goal, 4 of them went in the back of the net. And when you're scoring at that kind of efficiency, it's really tough.
Yeah, when you have an 80% shooting percentage.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to that's hard for any team to overcome. And and the efficiency has been like that now for several weeks now, where you're scoring goals, at a really high clip when the shots are getting on goal, they're going in the back of the net.
Right.
And that's crazy. I think it was, what game was it where? I think it was also against Northwestern where you guys scored 5, I think, in the first half on your first 6 shots. Or it was some crazy number like that. But the efficiency was also really high against Crown, same thing. Every shot that was going on goal was finding the back of the net. And so when you're that efficient, it makes the other team really, like the other team, they really, it's hard for them. They're on their heels.
You come into a game, correct me if I'm wrong, but you come into a game like that going,
yeah,
we can't make a mistake.
Yep.
We can't make a single mistake because every mistake that other teams are making is
in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And so you automatically are coming in feeling a little more pressure that we got to be perfect.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. It's the same in hockey. If you make a mistake against this team, they're going to put it in the back of your net.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and I will say too, you guys are right. I think that where I was coming at it, coming into yesterday's game was, okay, we've done it in the regular season, and we've gotten that chemistry down. We've gotten some of that efficiency down. I think we look sharp. But now there's pressure because in the regular season, our last 2 games, like didn't matter in terms of the standings, right? And so there was really zero pressure at that point, right? And you even rewind back to a couple games before that where it's like, okay, we just need to win 2 out of the next 4 games, or 1 out of the next, or whatever it was. And it's kind of like there's just not that element of pressure. Now you go into a situation against a very good Northwestern side they're loaded up with some of, I think, their best seniors in the last few years, and I think one of the best overall squads in the conference. And I think one of the best, and I said this yesterday, one of the best, if not the best coach in the region. And you're going against, a squad that can punish you right back. And how will we do when that pressure hits? What will that do to us mentally? And I think what we showcased was how strong we are mentally, how much confidence and experience we have, in playoff settings. And again, like our captains, Will and Harry, just the confidence that they project onto the rest of the squad. I thought we settled into the game really well and continue. And again, I never felt like that game was 4-0. The way that Northwestern continued to attack, the way that they found ways to get footholds in the game. It stayed intense for the entire 90 minutes. So for us to be able to kind of deal with that, I think it shows that we're not just in a good spot, kind of playing wise, but I think mentally and with our ability to kind of deal with adversity, I think we're in a good spot that way. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think this whole year has kind of led up to where we are with the adversity that we faced, like early on, not scoring, but we played well defensively, so we all knew it was there. But then, I think when the season really shifted in our favor was when we got on our new field. I think this new stadium, what it's created for us, is a sense of, this is our home. Nobody can come in here and, play against us because, every year in the UMAC, we've been dominant. For all the years I've been here, we've been dominant, but we've never really taken that step, leading the nation in goals. We've done that once. But, I think we've done this year things that we haven't done before. Like Crown is apparently a championship contender.
I think they showed that yesterday.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
showed that yesterday. And we 7-0 them at home. Every team that comes in here has a hard time because the guys are putting everything they can out there. I think as a captain, I've seen the most buy-in ever. Like, guys are really given this year everything, and I think that shows, like, in the stats, like you're saying. It's like, it's crazy almost what's going
27
on.
different goal scorers.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even I've scored this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, it's incredible. Like, being on this new stadium has given guys another level of buy-in. Like, people, I mean, the level at practice too has gone up so much, and not only because the surface is so much better, we can actually play how we want to, but like just being at home, like having our badge on the field, like everything is superior. It's not the Spartans anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, it's surreal.
Well, I was going to bring that up because obviously that was a
Well, they've been
large highlight of the year. Was halfway through your season, you
Get a chance to
you
play in the stadium,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get to open up a facility that technically is still under construction.
But I mean, they've been absolutely dominant, though.
But no,
absolutely.
So, and I
dominant.
kind of wanted you, from a coaching standpoint, too, to talk about a little bit. Okay, you've always had that success, but you've been vagabonds. You know, it's been a vagabond existence, going from, like I've always said, I think 9 different facilities he played home games at in 10 years, and then to be able to have that dominance there. Is there a new level now that you have your own place out here?
Yeah, I mean, and I want to give a couple shout outs first. Like, I really do think, like, we need to give credit to Superior High School and the job that they did hosting us. You know, it started out with Ray Cozy over there, and now it's Ella and their whole staff. I mean, Carrie on the grounds, and you know, the coach Otto and everybody. They've just been terrific hosts for us, and so we're very grateful for that. That said, having our own home, it does. There's a mental energy and an element there that it brings, and it's not even. I would say, you're right. Like, it is the way that we've played at home, but I would say, you know, and we kind of looked at this as maybe a silver lining of not being able to roll things out right away. Like, I would have loved to get on there August 17th with the start of preseason, right, and be on there. We all would have loved that, right? I do think the silver lining was that, you know, college soccer, it's such a compressed season. It's such a grind. You know, it's a sprint. And it's easy to fatigue midway through because you're on the road a bunch. You know, you've got games switching around. You know, if you're playing 90 minutes, you know, back to back and 3 games a week or whatever, it's hard on your bodies. And so there's a physical and mental fatigue that happens every season. And you can almost see it in the results, and you can see it, you know, year to year in the guys' mannerisms and in their presence on the field, in the coaching. I feel it. I know our staff feels it. So we knew that would happen just like every other year. This year, it kind of happened, and then we got to roll out the new stadium. And it was just like we got this shot in the arm.
Second wind, kind
Big
of.
time, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I mean, so not only did we play well at home, but then, you know, like we opened on Saturday against Morris, and then the next, we literally.
First Saturday of the year, too, that it rains.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Right on cue.
Right.
And that was such a silver lining, too, because it's like,
It was a cold, raw day.
you know, like we were glad that it held off the rain because it allowed the construction crews to
Right.
do everything they needed to do. But it was like we couldn't get one more
Couldn't
day
have
where it was
one?
nice, and, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know. But we literally, like, we missed a big chunk of the women's game afterward because we had to get on a bus and get down
Yeah, 'cause you
to
played the next day.
Mankato, and then you know the next day we're at Gustavus and St. Peter, but I think we played really well against, you know, a top 5 team in the country.
That was a great game to
in
watch.
that
Yeah.
you know, and we didn't come out with the result, but I think, you know, both sides would look at that game and say neither team deserved to lose.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you could say it's just coach speak, but I'd say go back and watch the game. We pumped it for a while.
Yeah.
And
We outshot them more than 2-1 for the game.
yeah, you know, and
it's-
that's not taking away from them. I mean, like,
Right,
they've
yeah,
got
yeah.
some special players, and Tudor's a fantastic coach, all that, right? But I would say we went down there with that renewed energy, and I thought it just showed in the way that we played. And, you know, and knock on wood here, we haven't lost since.
Right, yeah.
And so I do think that that's a big part of it. And the other shout I'll give is just to our administration here. You know, and I've said this before, but, you know, I think there were at times some of our players, some of our staff even were kind of wondering, is this going to happen? because we've had this dream of this stadium for a while now, and then we announce it, and then there's a worldwide event. There's a pandemic that happens, and I think it would have been really easy for our administration to look at that and say, we got to pump the brakes on this thing until the world figures itself out, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then shortly after that, there's inflation and economic uncertainty, and there just would have been a lot of excuses for our administration to just kind of mail it in and say, sorry, we'll catch you on the next go around. And our chancellor, our athletic director, our campus community kept their foot on the pedal, and I will forever be grateful to this campus for doing that, and getting our seniors the chance to play on it this year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was going to happen. Like they'd broken ground. It was going to happen, but and to Northern Interstate and the rest of that crew to actually get it done. I mean, drive by like 6 o'clock at night all summer long, and their guys are still out there working.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why we're on that field now. And so just a big moment of gratitude for everybody involved in that. And then, I talked about this with our department, but I'll say it on air here. The job that our marketing team does, you don't get that. I mean, Will, you've played at how many different stadiums? Have you ever had a home game experience like we have now on our field?
No, it's outstanding. I mean, I've played on a stadium before I came here, and there's been Europa League games played on that stadium, like world-known teams like Arsenal and Galatasaray, like huge teams has played on it. And first of all, the turf matches, they're equally good. But what we have here, like the scoreboard, the environment, like everything on social media, with the way the game is going, it's almost a must if you want to expand on your program.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's unbelievable. Like the things that the marketing team here does for my family and for other, because we have so many internationals,
right.
Like for the families back home, like it's big time.
Yeah.
Like I get constant text from my grandma and my mom and like friends and family, and they're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like this stuff it's incredible.
Yeah, we have a first-rate group here.
It was.
my God.
It was really funny
Oh
to me
my
on
God.
opening day when, starting lineups and everything are being done, and you look down at the benches and they're watching the video boards. They're not even paying
I
attention. to
was
what's going on
trying
the
so
field.
hard to play it cool and not watch. I'm like,
Everybody's looking at the
no,
board.
I gotta watch
Teams
this,
are
right?
rocking out, and the
Everybody
video
turning
is
and
going,
looking.
and everybody's watching the video board. Nobody's paying attention to the field.
Yep.
Right.
You're
yeah.
introducing
Yep.
the lineups, and you put the player up on the board, and all the guys on the bench are looking at the board.
Yep.
Both teams.
Yep.
Both teams, visiting team too, and it was really
Yeah.
funny.
It was. Yeah.
the
Morris is
worst.
turning and looking. They're all turning and looking at the board.
It's the worst because I catch myself doing it in game.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
yesterday, we had a free kick and it was zoomed in on me, and I look up and I see myself. And
Give yourself a little wink, right?
I'm like looking to the bench and I'm going, that's me up there. That's me up there.
Well, you can tell. I mean, and I haven't.
Sorry, could it catch the shiner?
No.
On the big board?
No,
Okay.
no, no.
We'll come back to the
We're
Shiner.
gonna,
We're
yeah,
gonna
we'll
come back to the
This will
Shiner.
be
We're
the
not
Shiner
letting that go.
podcast episode.
We're not
Yeah.
letting that go.
Yeah, but I haven't had a chance really to ask too many of both the men and the women though what it was like to play on it for the first time. Like, I mean, they practiced on the field, so they knew like the field itself a little bit. But actually playing in a game environment, I mean, what was that like for you? I mean, that must have been. So I would have been this like, you could tell with the women, right? Because they all came out, all 11 of them were standing there with this huge smile on their face. It was almost like it was scripted, like they had been told that you have to smile. But you could just tell, that they were all 11 of them were sitting there smiling. And I know some of your guys tried to play it cool. Like they just tried to go out there and be, but
No shot.
yeah, it was like,
No shot.
but it was like, I mean, what was that like for you though to be able to like to play that? Say that you played on the first in the first game on this. Like, how did that feel?
Well, first of all, you try to be professional. Like it's a new stadium. It's like an incredible environment and the experience and everything. But you try to be professional to the other team, like show respect, not trying to make it into a clown show or anything. But I mean, just lining up the first time and then hearing your name and like where you're from and everything, and then you do peek a little bit behind and your face is on the
Right.
scoreboard. No, it's something I've dreamed of for I don't know how many years. I have 4 years, because we spoke about it when I was recruited back in the old days.
Yeah,
And but no, it's a dream come true.
But it
and
goes
I
to
know-
show too,
right.
because I try to explain to people how slowly the wheels turn on these things. From conversation to competition was 7 years.
Yep.
Yeah,
We had that first conversation 7 years ago that, okay, we really need to remedy this situation.
yeah,
to opening kickoff was 7 years.
Yeah.
Granted, it probably slowed a little bit with a pandemic in the middle there.
Right.
But
There's
the
a lot
the wheels
of-
move slowly on projects like this. And
Well,
so
and I would say, especially, it's a great point, Garbs, and I think especially at a state institution, and I mean, as a taxpayer, I'm grateful that every dollar is accounted for multiple times, and we make sure that like this is truly a need, and we're going to do it the right way and at the right cost and all that. On this side of it, though, it's painful to be patient, right?
Right. Yeah.
And again, I give a lot of credit to our athletic director for kind of talking me down a couple times where it really did. It was painful to have to wait, but he really kind of doubled down on the vision of it and got us to the finish line. So I just can't get over it.
how cool is it too that it's a soccer facility? There's no football lines on it,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
and that's rare.
Yeah.
So how cool is that to know that this truly is a facility designed for your sport?
I'll comment, and then I would love to hear from you too, Will. I do think that, so there were a couple, I don't call them battles, but things that I really wanted to make sure we got done right. For Drex, the track, obviously, I mean, he wanted to make sure it was the right surface that was going to last a long time and be good for the health and safety of the athletes. Same thing for me.
Seeing how they did the track blew my mind.
Unreal.
Yeah. That guy apparently
Not
that's
to
just,
interrupt, sorry.
No,
but that
please.
blew
That's
my
worth
mind
talking about.
Watching
Yeah.
how they
apparently
did
that guy, that's all he does, and he's
Well-
been doing it for
Well, and Matt,
That's
like,
impressive.
because he
Really
does it by
impressive.
hand. He does it by hand.
we all thought like we were going to see this whole like mechanized, trucks out there pouring and like a cement truck home or whatever.
Yeah.
Nope. And it's done. It's 39-gallon trash buckets with red rubber that come, and it's bucket by bucket, and it looks from the outside the most tedious process. And again, credit to those guys because they truly love what they do. You can see it and they love the product that they're putting out there. You can see it in the care that they took.
Yeah.
But man,
He said like painting the lines. Watching that guy paint the lines was crazy. Because he does it by hand.
He does it by hand, and he
doesn't measure anything. He just does it.
He eyeballs it, and it's you look at it and go, "This is
Yeah.
dead on."
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
makes you
it's
wonder
measured.
how many.
It is measured, but it's once the painting comes, it's not. It's hand. It's
Because you would think it would be like you said, you think it would be this mechanized thing that just we're going to space them out. We're going to have a line here, 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 and here for the lanes, right?
And in the technology era, okay, you're going to laser this in, and it's going to
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
You're going to do outlines for the numbers in each lane, and so everybody knows where they're supposed to be, and where it's just like no, he did it all by hand.
Crazy.
Yeah. and then you talk to Mike, and he could tell you the difference. Like he could eyeball any track in the country and tell you certain elements of the track that went into making it, and this angle and all that. He is an artist. It was fun to just kind of rub elbows with him for a bit too, and just
You can just eyeball and be like,
it was
okay,
fun to watch.
like-
It was fun to watch. The whole process was fun to watch.
That's what he told me because I was like, okay, so putting it on the turf is one thing, right? Because you get the lines right. And blah,
But
blah,
even
blah.
that, they did. You're watching them roll it out and then stitch everything
Yeah.
together. I'm like, really? That's how they do this?
yeah.
Yeah.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was again. I mean, that was So Drex. I mean, he was very good at articulating exactly what he felt like we needed here. Again, for performance and health and safety for the athletes. Same thing on the soccer pitch. Like we wanted to make sure it was the right surface, and I really feel like we got the top of the line surface that. It'll last a long time, so we're not dumping money in, a couple of years down, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we're taking care of that. But then it's also it plays so much like a natural grass pitch.
It plays like grass. If you actually walk on the field, I've
feels
had a chance
like
to
it.
walk on it. Yeah,
So
that
that was a big one. And then this was probably little to everybody else for me, and I think the boys, making sure that we had the true like professional box goals on that. Like I felt like a little kid like asking for it, but it's like. That is important. Most turf fields, to your point, Garvis, I mean, they're really designed to be multi-purpose for a lot of different sports, and so it's always roll-away goals that are on there. And they make a box goal that's a roll-away. I just look at it and say, and no offense to anybody that's got those, like they're fine. I look at it and say, it just doesn't look like what you'd see on a true professional pitch, and so we have the anchored in goals, the true box goals. And I just think there's a difference in the way when that ball hits that net, it splashes differently. And
Yeah.
It just makes scoring that much more fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why they're scoring so many goals.
There we got it. We want to see that thing.
It's
Yeah.
more fun to
ripple
shoot on the
back
new
there.
nets.
Yeah.
Got
We
it.
should look at the
Exactly.
stats, like pre-box goals and post, right? Like what's that
exactly.
done?
Before we
Blur
have
all
those.
that out.
Yeah.
Blur all that out. It's a secret.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
Well kept secret up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you? What have you thought of the way it plays?
Well, it's like I said, it's like to that level that I've played on before, and I wasn't expecting it to be that good because that's an actual top league Swedish level, like full stadium.
Right,
Like it
yeah.
takes a couple thousand, like it's top of the line. And then I come here and I see the turf and I'm like,
man.
it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And then we go out there and practice and it's like, wow, you can tell that this is like some of the best turf you can get. And back to what we said about the lines, for me, it's almost been like a switch up because I got so used to playing with the lines. So when we play defense, like where we set up our defensive line, it would always be like, oh, on the 15, on the 20. And now we don't have that. So then, I don't know, that's just a thing that I've picked up on. But not having the lines is so nice. It is so nice. Just during the game, it plays like grass, and it's like you're on grass, and it's for you. It's for soccer. It's for us. It's for the women's team. Like, we've all earned it.
Yep.
So to be able to be out there and have our own soccer field, it's
Yeah.
I can't even describe it really.
The smile does.
It
Yeah,
was sort of,
yeah.
it's very like,
Yeah.
because it does play like a true grass field. Like balls now hold up into the corner that, over at NBC would just roll out.
Yeah.
And you just know it. Like there were times and with both the men and the women, you could tell when they knew that a ball was just going to roll out because the turf wasn't going to hold it.
Yeah.
Now you can run those balls down in the corner. You get
Well,
more
we noticed it right away, Matt, when we were out there, and there was a windy day, like in Superior, go figure, right? And on every other turf field, those balls would be it's hard to train because you can't keep the balls gathered because every time the wind picks up, it blows the balls across the field, and ours stayed right where they would, just like on a grass pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Will, you mentioned the women's team too, and I'll say like we're not the only side enjoying those box goals. Like
yeah.
I think about Lindau's goal a couple weeks ago and the way that one splashed.
Yeah,
Like
that
Alessi's
was-
goal last night, the way that one splat. Right, like
Yeah.
yeah. We've got some pretty awesome roommates in our women's soccer team, in our track and field teams, like, and they're enjoying the heck out of it too.
Yeah, well,
I would say that too for the women's team. You and I talked about it. I think that the way that they've elevated their game
Yeah.
throughout these weeks that we've been on the field, I think you've seen an incredible increase in the way that they play.
Yeah.
Because I think the field has allowed them to play more 2 feet and into space instead of having one missed pass and it runs out of bounds.
yeah.
Because I know they can relate, probably because I relate to that too, that
Yeah.
on the high school, even though the high school has all the memories and I'm super grateful for that, games got very choppy. It's
Yeah.
like balls went out of bounds. I felt too much and we couldn't keep it in bounds and it bounced around. But I mean, just watching the women's game yesterday, they play so well now on this new field and they can actually play into space and run onto balls, and I know there's no way they don't love it as much as we do.
Well, because and you guys play pretty technically. You're not as direct as some other teams are, where they're just sending it on a diagonal every single time. You guys like to work it from the back a bit, and the women also have been doing that for years, where they pass around. They're looking for the right angles and the right runs to be made. And on this field, you can do that more because the pitch play is like a true soccer field would. So or when I say it's true soccer field, I mean grass field. So you can play those little technical balls now, and you can send a ball in the corner and it'll hold up, and you'll be able to run onto it instead of having to just try to hightail it, just trying to keep the ball in.
Well, even the way the turf holds the ball up off the rubber a little bit allows your foot to strike through it more true, like it would on a grass pitch. So you're putting different textures on it, and again, I mean, from a health and safety standpoint too, like what that does. So, obviously, Will's coming off a knee injury a couple of years back. We talked about it at the high school at times, like just what that would do, like the way you would feel when you're striking through, just kind of re-aggravating a little bit.
Yeah.
And my hope, and I don't want to speak for you, but like, is that on a truer like grass type pitch, you're able to strike through, and it's keeping guys healthy. I think too.
I would explain it as softer. Like the field plays way softer because it's not flat. Like it's not been laying there, and it's not 6, 7, 8 sports on there and PE and everything.
Yeah.
It's just for us and the women's team and the track team. So it gets kept better, but it's like you said, it is softer. I feel like for me, when we played on the high school earlier this season, I kept getting that little tension like in my knee when I would step funny, but on this new field, I feel like you step and you kind of get that response back. Like you don't sink into it, but there is some forgiveness in the turf.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Isaac Beckett actually brought that up too when I first talked to him about practicing on it. He was like, it's nice because he's like, I can walk out the field now and not feel a bunch of like just like soreness in my joints. He's like, we can go out here, we can train for 2 hours and I'm fine.
Yeah.
When we walk off, I'm ready to go because I don't have to worry about, how my knees or my ankles are feeling when we go into training again tomorrow. Like I don't have to worry about that now. I can just, I can go out there and just play and not have to worry about it as much. And I think the women have also kind of taken that as well because you guys, both teams have been remarkably healthy this year. I mean, there's been a few injuries along the way, but they haven't been injuries that have happened because of the surface.
Yeah.
We've had a few guys get banged up, but it hasn't been again because
There's been guys slipping as they get out of their car.
But
We joke about that now because he's going to be all right.
But to that as well, like the reason it's not just being healthy, but it's what we can do behind the scenes then as well.
Right.
It's like we stay healthy, and I just look at two guys that, like when we talk about load management, I think for a guy like Freddie Watson and Harry Embler, they've had shin problems for the last 2 years. And it's because of the turf that it's been so hard on them. It's like running on concrete.
Yeah.
But now, I haven't seen Freddie practice this much since he came here. And Harry, he's had a knee issue now and he's going to be fine. But I haven't heard anything about his shins, and he always gets shin splints. At this time of the season, he barely practices. But I think what that's done for us is that now today, day after a game, we can get back out there and we can really work on what we want to work on. We can really elevate our game that much more because we are healthy and we can really work hard in practice to get better every day instead of having to think, okay, we had a game yesterday. We got to take a couple guys out of practice now, so they got to sit on the side. No, we got everybody in practice, and it's amazing.
when you get the full squad there, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And for me as well, like I'm counting my days, which it's a sad reality. I'm counting my days, and it's like that just gives me so much joy because then I go out there today, and I'm like I'm so thankful to practice today because that's one less, but we can have everybody in practice. We can run full sessions, 11s, everything. We can work hard, which really makes you appreciate it that much more instead of, oh, we had a game yesterday. I can't practice today because my shins are hurting.
Right.
Yeah.
All this talk about injuries. Let's talk about it. What happened?
It's
He looks good now compared to a week
This
ago.
is good. Last week I did a double take to you in the hallway. I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah, I've been getting a couple funny faces here for the last week and a half. It was against Martin Luther, and it was, I think we were 2-0 up, and then their keepers, he's got a pretty good kick on him when he gets it out of his hands. So he sent it over to my side, and I go up for a header, and I win the ball, but then it's like a golf swing. You gotta follow through. So then I follow through, and then his head is like kind of below me, and I kind of skull him in the back of the head, right on here, and I still have this like bump here, but this looks good.
No, it looks good. The coloring is
The day after,
a week ago
really bad.
that was really purple.
Oh yeah. No, it was full.
Yeah.
No, but it's one of those things that happen, when you play hard when you want to win.
It was funny because I actually brought that up. I saw you the other day, and I was like, oh, nice shiner.
Yeah.
And then he said something to me, and I said, to you, I think, yesterday, I said, yeah, Maanstroem's got a nice little shiner on him. He's like, yeah, I saw him in the hall. I had to do a double take. And I was like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Well, he asked me to come out of the game later. I mean, but not right in the moment, right? So there was no.
I stayed on for 2 more goals.
and obviously there was no concussion worries. It wasn't like
no.
you banged your head and you would jarred it at all. But you could tell like it was hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it was, again, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, and you're asking to come out, which doesn't happen, right? Will doesn't ever want to come out of the game. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he's bleeding, that soft tissue above your eyebrow, like that can open up.
And it'll bleed
and
all
it'll
day
bleed.
long.
Oh, yeah. I thought maybe that's it. And he comes over, and I'm like, well, he's not bleeding. What is the deal? And he gets like 2 steps closer, and I see this golf ball like just hanging over his eyelid. I'm like, yeah, probably best week. Maybe we move you over to Ben Casper, have him take a look at you.
Well, I was wondering why you took him out of that game. I remember thinking,
Yeah.
why is apparently Maanstroem's done for the day? I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it wasn't like he was struggling. He didn't look tired. You know, I was like, I don't understand if he's just making a rotation change, or this is just getting other guys some minutes, or what happened. Because all of a sudden Will isn't out there. Now I'm looking and it's Ben Lyman and Jacob Wiles are in there, which is fine. But I thought it was early to take him out. Well, now I know.
Now you know
what happened, because it was like, Will played a grand
he had
total
a
like a
planet
half hour.
growing on his
Yeah,
forehead.
he played like a half hour of the game, and all of a sudden now he's out of the game and I was like, I don't think he's mad at him. I mean, I didn't see anything Will did obviously wrong out there.
Yeah.
So I was like, he was playing a good game. I don't know what happened. Well, now I know.
Well,
because he took a blow. Yeah.
I'll take a minute to brag about Will here in front of him, all right? I just want to talk about leadership and what we've seen in our program, and you can go down a list of leaders that we've had, but I think Will exemplifies everything we want our program to be about. And you said, like, the way he's played the second half of the season here, why would you ever take him out?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, unless there's a golf ball hanging
Well,
out.
I know. I was wondering if there was a physical problem. I was like, something must be
Yeah.
wrong with Will. Like, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
But I'll just say this, for anybody listening in, that if you're coaching or if you've got kids that are playing, like, if you want to look at what leadership is, look at Will's season. Okay, so he comes back as a fifth-year senior. He's back to play, finish up school. Didn't have to come back this year, but he did. Obviously, he got the extra year of eligibility from COVID and from the knee and all that. And he didn't start the first, 6, 7, 8 games of the season. And I think part of it was, just coming back off, again, the knee injury. He had a full season last year, but just kind of restarting that after a summer away, and just kind of getting back to full fitness and full form. And he came in fit, but there's a difference between coming in cardio fit and like you've worked all summer, which he had, and just getting that game fitness, that game sharpness.
Yep.
And never heard a word about playing time. Never. I mean, he's a captain. He's in his third year of captaincy, and he's not starting games. And you just don't see that in teams.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, his leadership never slipped. There was never any kind of a pout on the bench. He said this to me. It's really easy to say this. It's way harder to do it in practice. He said, it's never about the minutes with me. I just want our guys to win.
Yep.
That's his words verbatim.
Yeah.
He cares so much about his teammates that if we play better with him not on the field, here's the spot, right?
Right.
And because of that, I think it's really earned the respect from the players around him.
Yeah.
They've doubled down on him as a leader, and now you see the way he's played the second half of the season. It's been lights out.
Yeah.
It's been such a joy to watch. But, you look at, again, I think this has been a historic season already at this point for a lot of reasons. Goals scored, open the stadium, all that stuff. The reason we're playing the way that we are playing is because we have the right leadership in place.
Right.
This season doesn't happen the way it does. That first third of the season could have been really frustrating. We're getting blanked. We're all those things, right? You have the right leadership in place, and we're rolling now because of that leadership. So I do want to make sure we give credit to where and Harry's been the same, and the rest of the senior guys. But it takes those guys at the top.
I'm just
showcasing what that leadership really looks like.
I'm just thinking of like Karsten and Nico and Phil, guys who have started in the past, now who are coming in on the second team basically. Karsten, for instance, he started a few games here down the stretch, but he started out the year also coming off the bench. He did that last year as well, and then he scored the game-winning goal in the UMAC tournament title game against Bethany. That sent you guys.
How good was Phil Erickson last night?
Phil was really good yesterday, and Phil is a guy
unreal.
And Phil was an all-conference player a couple years ago. A guy who scored like 13 goals in a year.
I would argue he's an all-conference player. Like, I'd take him off the board before a lot of other guys, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Nico, same thing. Nico's been another
Absolutely.
guy who, he came in and started a lot his first couple of years, and he's more of a bench guy coming off. I mean, he started some games. He's kind of a part-time starter, but again, that class, those guys have all kind of accepted it and bought in for the good of the squad. And like I said, the chemistry is right now. Like, I mean, the guys, this is what we call in soccer terms being in form. The team is in form right now, and they've been in form for about 6 weeks. So But that's a testament to that class though with Will and I know you happen to be particularly close with Phil and Nico. So that's it's not just Will, it's that entire group of guys that have bought into that. And you can tell. Carson, same thing. Carson coming off the bench also is another one. A guy who has sort of been a part-time starter. After his sophomore year, I think he started every game for you just about. So those are those things. That's tough for upperclassmen. I mean, like for instance, John, it'd be like for hockey, being on the first line your first 2 years, and now you're dropped to the third line, and you're going, why am I down here? For the last 2 years, I've been one of our top players. I've been on the top, two lines, one of the top two lines. Now I'm on the third line. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
And that's a hard conversation to have sometimes, as I know you well know. Because everybody wants to be that that starter and that guy that plays a lot of minutes. But in Joe's team, though, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of guys who will play a lot of minutes. But we know. Yeah.
Stats nightmare up there.
Line change.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But that's when guys buy into that system, though, and they understand the system, it works. Now, that's just the way it goes.
I also do think when we talk about leadership, and I appreciate what you say. I really do believe that for me to lead in the way that I do, people have to be okay with it. People have to be okay with having somebody that is the one that is going to say the first word or have the last word. Like, be ready to listen to somebody. And I think the way that we've really, how do I say, revolutionized the culture of this team. I mean, me and Coach, we always talk about how it used to be, but what we've created here is, I think it's truly special, and we've created an environment where everybody feels welcome. I've never been on a team where people are so happy to show up to practice. I mean, the atmosphere in our locker room before games and before practice and after, I mean, we have 35, 40 guys, and there's no issues on this team. This is the most tightly knitted group that I've ever been on. And I do believe it is up to leadership, but it's also up to people being okay with having other people step forward. When we talk about a guy like Philip Eriksson or Nico or Karsten, all these guys in my class, we all lead in different ways. If I'm a vocal leader and I say this and this and this goes, Eriksson and Nico, they show up in practice, they work hard, they show what it takes to be a starter. We take a guy like Karsten, he shows by example, but he's also a vocal leader. And then what I think that Harry does so well is that he is, when we talk about school, outside of school, on the field, in practice, this guy doesn't make mistakes. He's an incredible person. And that's why I think him and I go so well together, because I'm so vocal as a person. But I mean, just having him by my side, leading in the way that he does, goes so well with me, and you can see how that works on the team. When Harry says something, everybody listens. When I say something, everybody listens. When Eriksson, Nico, Karsten, I could name off every person in the actual senior group as well. Josh, T, these guys that we have, having this luxury of having this many seniors, then it becomes so easy for me to lead, because I can distribute leadership around those guys, and then you can see it. We have 15 leaders out there, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
You don't need him then.
There are days where I think they'd be better off without. Well, and the last thing, and I know we got to wrap up here pretty quick, but the last thing I'll say about that too, and Will, you nailed it. Okay, it is such a joy to come to work every day. I say this all the time. The reason I love my job is because I get to pick the 30 guys I go to work with every day, and we truly do. I mean, I love all these guys. I know you do too. But I will say again, back to leadership, getting that buy-in from the rest of the team. It takes a lot of real intentional work. It doesn't just happen organically. And again, credit to all those guys for buying in. But I'll just use the example. Garv's, any team stops, you stop at a restaurant on the way back, okay, from a game or whatever. Matt, you can chime in. You go into the restaurant, who steps up first? Who gets to eat first?
Yeah.
Captains, seniors, then on down, right? That is just, there's a pecking order. Always, right? the last guy, every time we stop somewhere, the last guy to go in line, the last guy to eat is our captain. And that's by his choice. It's not a mandate. That's by his choice. And he showcases every day that he is here to serve the rest of the team. And when you do that, it's easy for those guys to buy in.
Right. Yep.
And that's one example. It's a stark example, but it showcases the kind of leader that we have in this program. And I think that is why, when you talk about that culture, why it is so strong.
It's a good
That's
way
fair
to
enough.
wrap.
Yeah, that's a good way to wrap
That's
up.
a good
I
way to
think.
wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a big roster, but one of the things I think that also, and I'll just touch on this briefly because, like you said, we got to wrap up here. You have 27 different goal scorers. That's because 27 different guys get to play. There's Coach Mooney will find he'll get you into games. You don't come to UWS as a player, because in some programs you're gonna have to wait your turn. But, you're not gonna play much, if at all, your freshman year. But that's what I love about Joe's program as well. Joe will give you a chance in a game situation every single time. He gets guys into games. If we're well ahead, which we have been a lot this year, every guy that's available is going to get in and play at least some minutes. That's, and there aren't a lot of coaches that do that, and that's a big reason for his line changes. 8 or 9 guys coming in at once. He's trying to, he wants all the guys to feel like they're important and they're included and that they're contributors, and we're going to give you the chance to contribute. And not every program does that.
Right.
One thing I want to have said about that too is that it can look like we're just subbing a sub, but I'm telling you that the guys that do get on the field, they've earned it.
Yeah.
Like, there is guys on our team that have earned more minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But since we are that many and we're such a competitive roster, like the work you have to put in practice and the way you have to play when you actually get on, if you do see people get actual good minutes, it's because they've earned it.
Yep.
Young freshmen that come in and they buy in and they work hard and they're they show up and they do everything right and then they get to play.
Yep.
It's all because they've earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good way of looking at it too.
Yeah.
He wouldn't put you out there if you didn't deserve it.
Right.
But he's also showing that you've worked hard and I have faith in you. You can go out and play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you
no
do the
giddy
right,
minutes, no pity minutes. You've earned it. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
You've earned
Yep.
these minutes.
Yeah.
So
And as a captain, I also think that the best thing about that is that when a freshman does come in and he scores or he does something well, the whole bench goes crazy.
yeah.
Like, we take a guy like Jordan who's come in and he's working really hard to really improve, and he's trying to get to that next level of soccer player or football player or whatever you want to say. And then he gets into a game and he scores, and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Because we're behind everyone on our team. There's not one person that's singled out or alone. We're behind every guy on the team, and we want to see everybody do well.
I think the loudest cheer last year, other than Carson's game winner, was when Bryce Bolt scored.
Yeah.
Because
What a
Bryce,
guy.
yeah,
What a guy.
He's
What a
missed
We could
this
do a
year.
whole podcast
Yeah.
on Bryce Bolt. The enigma that is Bryce Bolt.
He should
right?
have his
Like,
own. He should have his own.
He
podcast.
should. I'd tune into that.
I would
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
You already named it. The enigma that is Bryce Bolt.
Yeah, Brian,
You bet.
the untold story of Bryce Bolt.
right.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm. We want to thank Coach Mooney and William Maanstroem from the men's soccer program for stopping by, and wish you luck again in the UMAC championship here a couple days from now. And
Yep.
hopefully we have chicken wings at the selection show on Monday.
Let's hope.
For Coach Mooney, for William, for the Big Sound Matt Johnson, I am John Garver, and thank you for watching Eye of the Swarm.